in search of the ultimate goal of life. From handwritten documents by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 3, Rämänanda Roy's third and fourth suggestion. When Lord Chaitanya rejected Rämänanda Roy's second suggestion of directly offering the fruits of one's actions to God, rather than indirectly through the Varnashram system, Rämänanda then made a third suggestion. He proposed that ordinary people who are fully engaged in the act of earning and enjoying should rather improve their lives by giving up the process of continuing to live in the material world while at the same time offering the fruits of their labor to God. And on the basis of this improved idea, Rämänanda Roy quoted a shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam. Agyayaivam gunang doshan maya dishtan api swakan dharman sanyajya yak sarvam mang bhaje sacha satama. In this shloka, the personality of Godhead, Krishna, says, occupational duties are described in the religious scriptures, and if one analyzes them, one can fully understand their qualities and faults, and then give them up completely in order to render service unto me. And such a person is accepted as a saint of the highest order. This conception is based on the fact that ultimately the acceptance of devotional service of Godhead is the highest aim of religious perfection. By performing religious duties, if we can reach pure devotion, we may then be considered first-class sadhus or saints. Rämänanda Roy suggested that we give up practicing the rules of Varnashram Dharma and take sannyas. Acceptance of sannyas means to renounce materialistic life, and in so doing, one has to engage fully in devotional service of the Godhead. In support of this idea, Rämänanda Roy quoted the above shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, and he also supported his suggestion with another shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Here, the personality of Godhead Krishna desires that everyone should give up all other religious considerations and engage wholly and solely in following Him exclusively. As He says, I will protect you from all difficulties arising out of renouncing all other engagements, so you have nothing to fear. An improved consciousness for the materialist is a desire to either retire from material activities or stay at a place which is undisturbed by the uproar of the modes of nature. The river Viraja is outside the boundary of the material world, where there is no disturbance from the three modes of nature. The material world is the creation of the external energy of Godhead, and Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, is the creation of the internal energy of Godhead. Viraja is situated outside the material and spiritual worlds, in between them. It is outside the boundary of both the material and spiritual world. However, renunciation without any positive engagement is imperfect and cannot give the candidate the desired result of love of God. It is the aim of Lord Chaitanya to bring people to the spiritual world. Therefore, this suggestion of Rämänanda Roy, which does not take one within the boundary of Vaikuntha, was also rejected by Lord Chaitanya. Negating the material activities or becoming disinterested in material activities does not suggest accepting positive spiritual activities. Spiritual activities completely depend on spiritual understanding. People having no realization of the spiritual world cannot sustain themselves by giving up all other activities. One must have a positive transcendental engagement. Otherwise, simply negating material activities of religiosity will not help one the slightest bit in spiritual realization. By such renunciation, one will simply feed a void in one's life, and one will again be attracted by material activities for want of actual spiritual engagements. This sort of spiritual realization is yet another type of impersonal conception and is therefore not ultimately suitable for the prospective devotee. Rämänanda Roy, having realized the desire of Lord Chaitanya, then suggested an improved process called Jnana Misra Bhakti, or calculated devotion. Driven by a false sense of oneness with the Absolute Truth, the empiric philosopher tries to make an analytical study of the cosmic manifestation in order to find out the Absolute Truth. And when one has done so, he or she becomes cheerful on account of one's self-realization. The symptoms of perfect realization of the Absolute Truth, which promote one to the stage of pure devotional service to the personality of Godhead, are described in Bhagavad Gita, and this was quoted by Rämänanda as yet a further improvement on the suggestion of renunciation of karma. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na shochati na kankshati samak sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. The practitioner who has realized the Absolute Truth as the non-differentiated impersonal Brahman does not lament over any material loss, neither desires any material gain. He or she is equipoised towards all objects of the material world, and these conditions make one fit to be promoted to pure devotional service of Godhead. However, the Brahma-bhuta state of consciousness is also not a fully transcendental state of spiritual existence. The supramental consciousness, as exists in the spiritual kingdom of Vaikuntha, is a further development. The Brahma-bhuta state of consciousness is undoubtedly free from gross material consciousness, and although touching the Absolute Truth indicates a transcendental feeling, still it is not the actual transcendental position for realizing the activities of Vaikuntha, and as such, it is also external. Lord Chaitanya wants the living entity to be free from every type of material consciousness, including becoming unconcerned with empiric knowledge and fruitive activities. One should stay in pure consciousness, as even a slight tinge of material consciousness causes an impersonal conception of the absolute truth. In all these different stages of material consciousness, only imaginary arguments predominate over the absolute personality of Godhead. Imaginary argumentative endeavors are detrimental to pure devotional service of the Godhead, and as such, even the liberated state, as above mentioned, is still external. This liberated state is something like the convalescent stage after release from a disease. If a convalescent person is not properly taken care of, a relapse of the disease may mar the whole attempt at recovery. In the Brahmabhuta liberated stage, one has not yet obtained a resting place at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, and as such, one is still unsupported and then runs the chance of falling down again into material activities. It is therefore also external, and thus this fourth suggestion of Rämänanda Roy was rejected by Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.